Hey, it's Niba, and like I promised, my recap video of season 12. And before I begin, I'm sorry again about this location. I feel like I apologize every time I'm in this location, but it's kind of weird, a lot of weird stuff going on, and I don't really know if it's straight or not. Like, I'm trying, but I can never 100% tell for some reason. And so I hope it is. I hope it's not too distracting, and I hope that you still watch. So I guess I'll start off with as just a whole, I've kind of been disappointed in this season. Like that's just I'm being honest. it's and I think many actually feel that sentiment too. Not everybody. There's people that I know that really liked it or really loved it even, but I was kind of disappointed throughout. I don't know. I I guess my biggest thing was I do agree with a lot of people when they say that the Bridgman letters really aren't a big deal for 17. I mean they've taken on like Lucifer and all these things, and it's just like a Bridgman letters, and especially at the end, they just all they're human. They're nothing for the Winchesters. The Winchesters have been through so much, and I feel like they still could have had some potential with it, or they could have made it like a different angle, kind of still. But I don't really think they gave the Bridgman letters anything really interesting. The only Bridgman letters I liked and was redeemable was Mick, and of course he was killed like real quick after he was became on the side of the Winchester, which I knew he would be like after like just his third parent or something. I think I said it. I don't know. But I knew early on. I felt like that. Yeah, he's gonna be with the boys. He's gonna change sides. He's gonna be on our side. But he got killed, Mr. Cash, because Mr. Cash doesn't care. He really is a psychopath. He was like, boom, bye Mick, and then boom, bye Tony at the end, which was like, wow. I didn't expect that actually. I really did think that they would just let Tony go, especially because they showed her son and everything, and that was interesting. I was like, why show her son even? Then, like, what was the point? I thought it was gonna become like a real huge point. Like, oh, she's gone, but whatever. And I was gonna be upset about it actually if they're like, oh, she has a son, so forgive her, because again, she went too far with Sam, and I felt like I've said this in a few videos now, but that was disturbing. See episode 2, like, and how many people it was disturbing. How many people are like, oh, it was fine, it's not a big deal. Like, what? And it was never addressed, of course, because why would the boys' traumas ever really fully be addressed ever? But whatever, I guess. But at least they didn't redeem her. I mean, at least they didn't just like, oh, whatever, it's fine, go. They, they basically she died. Catch killed her. We're assuming. I mean, we just saw her dead basically, and that was it. But Catch, and then I like the fact that Mary killed Catch, and I knew it when he took off the thing off the thing. I feel so. I don't know the words. What's it called? The what they were hooked up onto, Dean. What Dean was hooked up onto. He cut it off, and then they were fighting. I knew Mary was gonna wake up. I just knew it because Dean had gone and threw her. So I was like, okay, she's gonna wake up. And the Bridgman were defeated pretty easily, as I assumed. It was a basic hunt, basic hunting day. Nothing for 17. I hated though. I feel like I'm talking specifically the last episode right now. I'll get to more of that, but I hated that the two men who killed 17 in season 5 came back, and like they had Sam call them. Of course, why wouldn't that happen? Why wouldn't the writers do that? Again, having Sam and Dean, especially Sam, to work with people that hurt him. And I was upset that they made them work with Tony in the first place. That she's stuck there with them, and now it's like, oh, they're gonna have to save her, to save Mary and this and that. So she technically has to work with them, and it happened so many times. It happens every freaking season. I mean, they made Sam work with Lucifer out of everybody for the greater good. Sorry about my nose. I feel like I've had allergies throughout. So sorry about that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. No, but they made Sam work with even Lucifer. And so I'm like, anybody else is fair game. And then they made Dean work with Metatron after he killed him. And then before that, it was what, Cole? It was just all these people that Sam and Dean should not forgive, honestly, are forgiven or like given a second chance or this or that. And it's just really annoying. But I like the fact that when the Sam was giving the speech, their heads were like down, like they were so awkward, and I'm like, see, and this is the one you wanted to kill, cause they really were after Sam. I don't, they just killed Dean because like the one other guy, I don't know which of them said it, but you killed Dean, you killed Sam. I mean, you really want Dean to come after you because, oh, if Sam was dead and he couldn't do anything, Dean would come after them, and everybody knew that. I feel like all the hunting world knew that. What else? What else? I'm like, what else? That was basically like the end of the British Mother, but throughout they really weren't interesting to me as much. Again, Mick was the only one, but they didn't go anywhere with that storyline. And then Magda, Sam never really found out about Magda. I mean, I bet he did off screen or whatever, like Mary would tell them or whatever, or maybe he never did. That's what really annoys me. That annoys me so much. And it was like when they first killed her, I was upset. I was like, why? So because I feel like maybe just me, but I feel like a lot of people have connects, but they just automatically die. Like girlfriend or just friend or anybody, they just die. Well, I feel like a lot of times Dean's like kind of people closer he gets closer would become the family. Maybe just me, but that's kind of what I was thinking. So I was like, oh Magda, somebody that understands Sam on that level about the powers and about feeling bad and feeling guilty and feeling like, oh, you're the one that's doing this and wanting to just feel normal. That kind of part of it. But then they killed her off, and I was really, really upset. But then I saw some people being like, "Oh, look, okay, this is just showing how bad the Bridgman letters are," and I was like, "Okay, maybe, fine." But even though I sucked because it was an interesting character who died, she had a potential, and they just killed her off too soon. But I was like, "Okay, fine, maybe Sam will find out and he'll get mad, and then it'll become like the point, the turning point, basically, of when they stop working with them or when they start going after the Bridgman letters. Like they killed an innocent child. But no, because Sam never found out, and then they killed Mick, and then they killed Eileen. So what was the point? Like either why kill Magda at the beginning, but if you kill Magda, why kill Eileen? Because I feel like both of them kind of serve the same purpose, which was, I mean, killing them served the same purpose, which was to get the boys to be like, oh my gosh, and go after the British militars, and kind of like a turning point where like we can't trust these people at all. Did you really need that? Because Mary already called, but you know what I mean. And so it was like, why did you need that? Why did you need both of them to die? And then Mick, it sucks because all three of these people that I just mentioned, I thought are really interesting characters that could have continued on and had a cool episode or cool storylines. And that's what Supernatural does, though. I feel like they kill off interesting characters a lot of times too early, and then sometimes they keep characters that I'm like, really, they don't. They're kind of like meh. I feel like I've discussed that before, though, so I don't want to repeat too much. I'll just, but I guess that was basically the Britney Little storyline to me. And then Mary and Kedge, that was kind of awkward. Like, what was the point of that? Like, Mary could have gone with anybody, honestly, and I would have been okay with it. But Kedge, why Kedge? I mean, I thought it would be more of a greater purpose, but it didn't really serve that much of a purpose because it was just like one scene, I guess, where she was kind of able to manipulate him, like, don't please just kill me. But that was it, and I felt like that could have been done even without them sleeping together, technically. Maybe just me. I mean, 'cause I thought it was gonna be a greater purpose, like specifically that she slept with Ketch, but it really wasn't. Same thing when he took the picture, when Ketch took Mary's picture, I thought, oh, Dean's gonna find out because he always had that picture. It's gonna lead to something, but it didn't. So I'm disappointed again. I felt like there was a lot of things, little things that they were all this or that, but it didn't lead to anything. I don't know. And I guess I go to the Lucifer storyline. Lucifer, I feel like a lot of these characters they made a shell of themselves. So Lucifer, the big bad scary season 5 villain, he's a joke now. He jokes. He's like a bad, just like one of those cartoon bad guys. I feel like he's not that bad guy that we enjoyed. I mean, of course, he's not a good character. I mean, he's not a good person no matter what. But he was a great character. And now I just feel like since last season and this season, they haven't he's just there and he's just kind of making jokes and he's like, oh, look at me. And he's trying to be like a Crowley or something, kind of. And he's not a Crowley. Crowley, when he came in, he worked with the boys and he was always on his own side. He said, okay, look, but he never really hurt them until season 8 or 9, which was interesting season. No, eight, when he started killing all the people that they hunted, and that was because he felt that he had to because they were trying to close down hell. But Crowley's a different thing. But I feel like Lucifer, that's what they're trying to do. Like, oh, I'm just like a lovable bad guy, or like I'm just lovable in the middle. I'm like a gray area. No, you're a bad guy. You're a villain. They, I just hate that, and I think that they were just tagged on. Bridgman Letters and Lucifer were just tagged on, and I get it. It's season 12, and they didn't think of the Bridgman Letters in season 1 or whatever. They didn't have that idea, so of course it would kind of be tagged on. But I still think they could have done better with it. And then Lucifer, all of a sudden Crowley's able to bring him back. Since when? Since when has did that happen? And he's able to lock him up in his own body. And then he's smart enough to do that, or he's like whatever enough to do that. But then Lucifer somehow is just conveniently the power's wearing off, and he can like take it on now, and now he's in control of Crowley. But how? Like that's just too convenient. And same thing with Dagon and Ramiel and those yellow eyes tagged on. I did like finding out how Crowley became the king of hell. It kind of makes sense, but like the fact that both of them have yellow eyes, it just felt too tagged on. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. You tell me. Um, what else? I guess I talked about that. I feel like, but actually, going since I was talking about how shell of characters, let me just talk about Sam and Dean for a quick second. Which what? They're the main characters of the show. Nobody would have guessed that. Okay. Uh, no, but Dean, I hate that they did that to him. That they kind of like just Dean. They made him. I don't know how to say it. I guess they tried to be too. I don't really know the words to say it, but basically, my example is when he's holding a wine glass and it's kind of weird. It's like, oh, haha, Dean, haha, he doesn't know how to hold a wine glass. Oh, he's so awkward with it. But in season 11, with Jody, he was drinking wine. He held a wine glass correctly. So, do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like they did that. They made Dean. They tried to make like a Dean a character instead of actually focusing on his character. Does that make sense? And I think that's really bogus. And then Sam, he wasn't even really allowed to get angry this season, or like have really any real emotions. He was just like, "Oh, Mary, forgive him, forgive her, Dean. Oh, Cass, it's okay, forgive him. He was doing his best." Like, what? And I get it. Sam has always been somebody who sees the good in people. Like for the most part, like he tries to see the good in people. That's been his character. But it just they didn't really give emotion to him or depth to him. The only way it was because Jared is the great actor and you could see it on his face. But the writing itself, he didn't really have these like dialogues or that really heavy emotional scenes. And if it wasn't for Jared like doing his face like making it emotional, you wouldn't be able to tell. Because Lucifer, Bridgman Letters, like somebody pointed out that those were kind of both related more to Sam, but they didn't really go with that. They were just like, oh, whatever. I mean, since last season, apparently, it's like, oh, not a big deal what Lucifer did. And they mentioned the Gadriel, and it was like, oh, yeah, the angel who was inside you, or whatever. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And they've done that so many times. It's really frustrating. What Tony did, it wasn't brought back up. It wasn't, of course, but I didn't think it would be. But still, it's like, well, then why do that? It's a serious thing. And if you're gonna do it, talk about it. Have some type of resolve. Otherwise, don't have that scene just to have that scene. It's very frustrating. Sam and Dean are the main characters of the show, and I felt like they both were just there, and that's annoying. And I get it for some part of it that like Jordan doesn't have like babies and stuff, so they focus on other characters a little bit more, which is cool. I get it, but still, they could have written them so much better, and they just kind of made them characters instead of actually focusing on their characters and evolving. They just like had a kind of idea. Like, oh, Dean is this Sam is this like this idea, so they just went with it instead of actually diving in and focusing on them. And think of like going back for a second, like Sam forgiving Mary, I can get that because part of me is like John was really, because Sam was really upset at John. I mean, and so Sam always had that guilt, like oh he died, and I couldn't tell him that I it's okay, and that he understands more now because John knew about the demon blood. We don't know exactly what John knew, exactly when he knew, exactly all of those things. We don't really 100% know a lot about John still. We have a lot of small things, but a lot of it we still don't 100% know. But so I think Sam feels guilty for that. That's why him being so nice to Mary, it makes sense. And I think part of Sam also feels guilty still that Mary died. I think part of him also blames himself. But did we get that? No, because why would we get that? And then I just feel like I'm bashing it. But then just like Sam and Dean deserve better. I feel like we deserve better. And I'm not talking about like specific storylines. Go with what storyline, fine. It's the right or ships or anything. No, the writers don't owe us that. Do what you feel is natural and right though. And if you have a storyline or something, fine. But go with it, delve into it, explain it. So much of that's why I feel like I had a huge problem with season 12 too. So much of it felt so rushed and so convenient. And then Mary's storyline. I actually like Mary, and I actually think that why her working with the Bushman letters makes sense from her perspective and her point of view. I hated that she didn't give up the code, but we don't. I guess we don't really know why what she was thinking in that second. But she should have given up the code for her sons. But forget about that though. The other thing, I can understand her working with the Bushman letters, especially after they helped with Sam and Dean. After Cass is the one who said, "Oh, let's work with them." To marry, and they were all working together to help Sam and Dean get out, or to basically have a ride home, I guess. So I get Mary actually. I'm one of the few people I feel like that does it, that does get her. But I hate the way they wrote her, and I felt so rushed. Like she came here, she's scared, she doesn't know anything. That makes sense. She's at home, she wants to know her boys, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I have to go. I can't stay." Which okay, fine. Because of the whole case, it was too much. She just needed a second. But then like that long, really, she still needs more and more time. And then boom, she letters and boom this and boom that. It just felt so fast. And at the end, when she was like, "I was scared. I didn't know how to react." Like I think she still has that guilt, that classic Winchester guilt. And so again, that's why I get Mary. And Mary makes sense to me. But I just hated the way they wrote her. It was so I felt really fast, like boom, she's doing this, boom, she's doing that. Boom. It just felt like really fast, and it felt just I don't know. It just felt so. It just didn't feel organic. I I, and I am sad that so many hate her because I get her, and I feel like she's doing the same thing that Cass did, not any other season, but this season alone. But she's getting all this hate, which is I think unfair. But I did hate the way they wrote her. I felt like it was something missing and something not organic about it. Okay, I feel like I've said a lot of critical things. I might say more critical things, but let me get to some good things that I did like. I'll talk about specific scenes, I guess. I like the SWDW. That was one of my favorites. Like when they carved it into the bunker. Uh, I like the at the end the whole Dean and Mary scene. It was a lot. It was like wow. Jensen can act, of course. I was surprised, but I was like, oh my gosh. Um, the Dean, the regarding Dean, that whole episode was cool. I liked it, and I liked. But again, how are Rowena and Dean just joking around with each other? They have a very interesting relationship with Crowley and Rowena, but it just feels like sometimes I don't know. I'll get to that's a different topic. I think. Um, I liked. I actually liked the episode 6. I think it was with Magda, because I liked Magda. Um, I like the. I like Jody and Alex coming back, which I didn't mention for some reason last video, but I love them coming back. I think I said this before. I don't like Claire. I'm sorry. Like I understand her, but I just think the acting and the writing is not there. Sorry. No hate to anybody who likes her, to the actors or anything, of course, but that is my opinion. Um, Alex though, I was unsure because I was like, I don't know what. I don't think we've seen enough of her, but I really liked her, even though she was only in there for a few seconds. I really liked her and Jodie, and just I think the actress did a good job. Again, she wasn't there too long, but still, I feel like I actually like Alex. For some reason, that episode, I was just like, I like Alex. And then I love Jodie. I've loved her for a while now. And I think for her, 'cause I feel like everybody just becomes a hunter on the show now, which is so annoying. But Jodie, it makes sense for her to become that how she would be able to become a hunter. She's a police officer. She has connections. She was with Bobby for a few years, so maybe he gave her a few pointers. Like all these different things and more could add up to why I think Jodie realistically could be a hunter. And even then, Jodie doesn't usually go alone. She usually calls Sam or Dean or somebody, which I think is smart. Uh, but okay, as a whole, again, this season to me was disappointing. But I love Sam and Dean, and they are supernatural to me. So I will always watch them. I'll always love them. They just have a special place in my heart. And look, oh, let me get up, baby. But I feel like there's many other things that I loved or I hated, but those are the specific scenes that I can remember right now. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about though, I think in this video is Sam, Dean, and the cast and their kind of group. I don't know how to start this, but basically, no hate to anybody, no ship hate, no anything. This is just my opinion, and just if you disagree, leave it in the comments. I'm okay with that. Sam and Cass are friends. I don't ship them. I don't ship Cass and Dean. I don't ship either of them. I don't ship Sam and Dean like that. No, I don't ship romantically on this show. I just haven't. I appreciate the fact that it's not about romance. I really do. And I just don't think canonly it would work for many reasons. But that's a whole different topic. I just don't. I'm talking about the friendship. Sam and Cass are friends. They've had scenes together, underrated scenes, but they've had scenes together. And season 12 didn't was like, do they even know each other? The closeness that they began to have, and like how they started becoming cool, and they were really close. What happened to that? Again, the only way you would know that Sam was upset about something that happened to Cass was because of Jared's face. The writing wouldn't tell you, and that really upset me because Sam and Cass are friends. Like for the millionth time, they've had moments. They've risked their lives for each other. They've said that they're friends. Cass said "I love you" to all three of them, even Mary, which was kind of like, why? Because that was a little too fast for me. It's like I mean, yeah, you're a little too fast for me to say the love to Mary. But they both helped Cass up in that episode, and that I like that episode because it showed all three of their friendships. That with the Ramiel, I forgot the episode number, but it was with Ramiel and everything, and I think Robert, who plays Gabriel on Supernatural, who directed it. I think it was that episode. I liked that because it showed all three of them. But then I go on Tumblr or social media at all. They literally, I saw somebody post of people literally cutting Sam off and only having Dean and Cass. And like, oh, and that's not for the writers. That's just more specifically in the fandom. So you can't blame the writers for that. Because again, that was one of the episodes I'm trying to say though that the writers actually had that interaction, which I loved between all because they literally that scene. I don't know why, but it was so beautiful to me. Dean held on one hand, Sam held on one hand, and they both lifted the cast up. I just thought that was beautifully shot. It was just a beautiful scene to me. But then I go on social media and all I see is, oh, he said I love you to Dean, Cass said I love you to Dean, they steal his canon, blah blah blah, and it just kind of upset me, cause I was like, so what is Sam? He was there too, and then Sam and Cass are friends too, so it's not just that fact that you left Sam out, which would be upset me, and not just because I'm a Sam girl, which I am, but I love Sam and Dean both. They're both the main characters of this show. I love them both, and if they did that to Dean, I would be upset too. I love them both, but it just that's what made me upset. And then the fact that Sam and Kat also built this friendship, they've had it for years. They've had scenes together that sadly nobody really notices as much, but they have had scenes together, and so it really upset me to see that. And then the writers themselves did that because When Cass came, Cass only talked to Dean, and it was like, oh, I'm sorry, Dean. And like basically they only had, it seemed like it was more Dean who was calling Cass, even though Sam can call Cass too, and he's had. But the thing is, I get it. Okay, Dean is the one that usually calls everybody for the most part. I think except Jody, but for the most part, it's usually people who call Dean or Dean the one to call them. Not just Cass, but everybody in general, Mary and everything. So it makes sense that Dean was the one to call. But the way that it made it seem was that it was only Dean who was worried, and it was only Cass. Then Cass only talked to Dean, and then even the last episode, Sam and Dean and Mary are all there, and Cass is just like, Dean, what? It feels like such fan service to Destiel shippers. And I'm not hating on Destiel. And I'm not shipping Destiel, so it's not like I'm like my ship or your versus your ship or whatever. It's not about, it's just unfair. Because it really did feel like in those moments such fan service. Like, really? Sam is there too. Sam and Cass are friends. Repeat after me. Sam and Cass are friends. So Cass would care about Sam too. And Sam would care about Cass. I mean, Sam is the one that always believed in Cass. He's always like, okay, you can do this and this for the greater good. Last season, he was like, okay, so this is what Cass wanted, and he respected his wishes. And he's even when Dean's mad, like in season 8, he's like, in season that was such a specific moment, but Dean was like, if it was anybody else, we would not deal with it, which is 100% true. I'm sorry, but the things Cass has done, if anybody else did it, they would be. Can we please be honest? I'm not trying to hate on Cass, but can we please be honest with that? I mean, I really like Cass, and I think I want more development for him, actually. I really do, but let it be honest. And then Sam was like, because it's Cass. And like these little moments, they've had moments. In season, when Demon Dean, they were working together. And I like to see more of that, actually. But we didn't, sadly. But I just think it's unfair fan service, and it's unfair to people who ship or just like that, or just as a whole the story suffers because it's supposed to be a group, right? Team free will, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels disconnected. It feels like Team Free Will thing came out of nowhere because Dean said it once and Cass was in a coma, so does he remember? Fan service. Because he wouldn't remember that. He wouldn't have even heard it. He doesn't even know what it really means. And then I think Bobby should have been Team Free Will, because especially during the time when they started Team Free Will, Bobby was helping too. So not, and there's a lot of more people that should be involved, but if not anybody else, at least Bobby. And I'm glad that Bobby came back. I think I mentioned that last video. I'm so glad, even though it wasn't like our Bobby, our world Bobby, but it was still nice. I still need to know what happened with our world Bobby and the angels, because the last scene that we had really of our Bobby in current time was the angels in his heaven, like because he helped us Sam and Cass. Which again, that was one of the moments in Sam and Cass friendships, which season 12 just acts like it never happened. Like, oh, drama. There's a lot more things I could say. I could be nitpicky, like the whole them getting out of jail. What was that about? Like, okay, and the fact that it was worse than hell. What? A solitary confinement kills a person. It's horrible. It's torture. And I would understand if Dean was like, okay, or Sam were like, look, okay, it made us think about heaven again because we had, I mean, hell again because we had nothing else to do. We were stuck in that cage and it reminded us of it. That would make sense. But the fact that it was worse for Sam and Dean, I don't see it. They had razors. How did they have razor access to razors? If you really want to, if you really wanted to show them like that, have them have big beards, have them be like starved or like bad conditions or something. Did that make sense? And the food actually, it looks pretty much like cafeteria food. It looks better than some of the cafeteria food I've eaten. It looks better than that. So that's more nitpicky though, I guess. But I hated they just got out the way they got out of jail too. In the after the 2 weeks, 3 weeks break or whatever that they had over the winter, I think. After when they came back, I was like, really, it was too. A lot of this felt too convenient, and I feel like maybe I'm just being too harsh, too nitpicky. But there was definitely something missing. But and then I guess just at the end, basically, apparently everybody's dead. Crowley killing himself, it kind of makes sense because he was tired of being the king of hell for a while now. I mean, since Demon Dean, at least he's been tired. He's told Dean that. But the fact that all of us did it, it also did feel rushed and fast that now he's like, you know what? I guess he just got done. He's like, you know what, Lucifer bested me, but that just doesn't feel like politics. So I think Misha signed off for season 13, so I'm not even worried. Whatever. But Crowley, it's it's Mark. I don't know. And Rowena, please tell me that she's coming back because no matter what, she does not deserve an off-screen death. She just doesn't deserve an off-screen death. So I'm not gonna buy it. All three of them might come back next season. I'm not too worried, honestly. Sorry about my nose. It's allergies. I have allergies every season, every day. I feel like now. Anyway, I guess I could be more nitpicky about the certain episodes, and I'm won't though. I mean, I guess I really won't.